What if the thing your dog needs most from you has nothing to do with walks, or food, or the toys you buy them, or even the training you put in? What if it's something so overlooked, so simple, that when you hear it your first instinct is going to be, that cannot be it? And what if you've been missing it every single day? Not because you don't care. Not because you're a bad owner. But because nobody ever sat you down and explained what it actually looks like. Here is the truth most dog owners never find out: your dog has been communicating something specific to you, something important, every single day you've been together. And most owners go their entire lives never fully receiving that message. Not because they don't love their dog. Because nobody ever showed them what listening to a dog actually looks like. By the end of this video, that changes. Stay with us, because number 4 on this list is the one that hits hardest. Most people who watch this tell us they had absolutely no idea they were doing it wrong. Dogs are extraordinary communicators. They have a full vocabulary, not words, but signals. Body posture, facial micro-expressions, deliberate movement patterns that behavioral researchers have documented, cataloged, and confirmed are consistent and meaningful across breeds. The problem has never been that dogs are difficult to read. The problem is that nobody teaches us the language. Today we're covering 5 things your dog genuinely needs from you, 5 things that research confirms actually matter, that most owners are unknowingly getting wrong. None of these require special training. None of them cost anything. And none of them mean you've been a bad owner. They just mean nobody told you. Until now. Number 1. What happens when you stare your dog down after they've done something wrong? You know this moment. Your dog has chewed through something, grabbed something off the counter, knocked something over. You catch them. And without even thinking about it, you turn around, fix them with a long, firm, unblinking stare, and say their name in that tone. The disappointed tone. You believe you're teaching them something. You believe they understand this as a correction. Here is what is actually happening inside your dog's nervous system. In canine social language, a hard, sustained, direct stare is not a teaching signal. It is a threat display. It is the exact same body language a dominant animal uses to signal that a confrontation is coming. Your dog's brain does not process your stare as, "My owner is disappointed in me." It processes it as, "Something dangerous is about to happen." That freeze response you sometimes see, the dog going completely still, head dropped low, eyes sliding upward to look at you, that is not guilt. Research published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior has documented this extensively. That posture is appeasement behavior. Your dog's entire body is sending one message: I am not a threat. Please do not escalate this. I want this to stop. And when this kind of interaction happens repeatedly over time, even unintentionally, studies show that dogs develop significantly higher baseline anxiety levels. They become less likely to approach their owner voluntarily in calm, neutral situations. Not because they're frightened of you exactly. But because some quiet part of them is always running a calculation: is the eye contact I'm about to receive safe? The fix doesn't require anything complicated. Use your voice to interrupt the behavior, calm, clear, redirecting. Move toward the situation with purpose rather than looming over it. The dog you want, the one who is relaxed around you, who chooses to stay close, who trusts you completely, cannot exist if part of them is always waiting to find out what your next look means. Number 2. What you do when your dog walks over and checks on you. Here's the scene. You're sitting quietly. Your dog approaches. They sniff your hand, push their nose briefly against your arm or your face, maybe press lightly against your leg. And your immediate, instinctive response is to reach out and start petting them. It feels like connection. It feels like the natural thing to do. From your dog's perspective, you just interrupted a sentence they were in the middle of finishing. When your dog initiates this kind of quiet approach, they are not just saying hello. They are doing something deliberate and important. They are reading you, through scent, through proximity, through physical cues that tell them things your face and your voice never could. Whether you're stressed. Whether something is off with you physically. Whether you're okay. That check-in is purposeful. It matters to them. When you immediately convert it into a petting session, you've shifted the dynamic. You've made the interaction about your need for contact rather than their need to gather information. You interrupted their sentence to start your own. Next time your dog initiates one of these quiet approaches, try something different. Keep your hands still. Let them take whatever time they need to complete what they came to do. Only after they've pulled back, settled against you, or simply stilled, then respond. What you'll feel from your dog in those moments is different. Because you finally let them finish. And a dog who gets to finish their sentences starts offering more of them. Number 3. What most owners don't do when something big is about to change. Think about the events that reshape a dog's world. A new baby arriving home. Moving to a new house. A family member leaving. Surgery. A season of your life where your schedule changes completely and the routine they've built their sense of safety around simply disappears. Every one of these things comes to you with context. You have time to mentally prepare. You understand what the change is, roughly how long it will last, what the other side of it looks like. Your dog has none of that. One day the world is a certain way. The next day it is something completely different. And they have no framework to understand whether this shift is permanent or temporary, whether more change is coming, or whether the life they knew is gone. Researchers at Stockholm University found that dogs experience significantly elevated cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, during periods of household disruption. And critically, the stress response was measurably more severe when that disruption arrived suddenly rather than gradually. You cannot explain a house move to your dog in words. But you can take them to the new home before the moving day arrives and let them explore it at their own pace. You can deliberately hold on to the parts of their routine that anchor their sense of safety during the weeks when everything else is shifting. You can be more present, more consistent, more deliberate, not because they'll understand the explanation, but because your behavior is the only context they have access to. What most owners do is nothing. They assume their dog will just adapt. And often they do. But the cost of that adaptation, the weeks of disrupted sleep, the sustained spike in stress hormones, is real. It just happens invisibly, while the people who caused it assume everything is fine. Number 4. This is the one. Your dog has a full, documented vocabulary for communicating discomfort. It is not subtle, once you know what you're looking for. A head turned slowly away. A lip lick that doesn't fit the moment. A yawn that appears out of context. A body that goes tense and still rather than soft and loose. A slight, almost invisible lean backward. These are not random behaviors. These are not your dog being difficult or moody. These are precise, well-documented stress signals, your dog's clearest, most direct way of saying, not right now. I do not want this. Please stop. And most owners, good owners, caring owners, owners who would do anything for their dog, don't just miss these signals. They actively override them. The child who wants to hug the dog whose entire body is communicating no, and the parent who says go ahead, he loves it, not because they're careless, but because they genuinely didn't know what they were looking at. The grooming session where every signal the dog has says this is too much, and the owner who keeps going because it needs to get done. The stranger who reaches for the dog's head, and the owner who apologizes for their shyness without stepping in to help. Every single time this happens, your dog learns something. Their communication doesn't work. The signals they send don't produce results. And over time, a dog who has learned their signals are ignored stops sending them clearly, and eventually finds other ways to make themselves understood. Research from the University of Bristol School of Veterinary Sciences found that dogs given more autonomy over physical interactions, dogs whose no was actually heard and respected, showed significantly fewer anxiety behaviors and formed stronger, more voluntary bonds with their handlers than dogs in interactions controlled entirely by the human. Less control from you. More trust from them. This is what your dog has been waiting for. Not for you to be a perfect owner. Not for the right commands or the right training program. Just for you to hear a no, and honor it. A dog who trusts that their no will be respected doesn't need to escalate. They don't need to growl or snap or shut down. They can communicate in the quietest, earliest signal and know it will land. That is not a dog being managed. That is a dog who feels safe enough to tell you the truth. Number 5. And this might be the most powerful thing on this entire list, because it asks the least of you. Your dog does not need you to be endlessly patient. They do not need you to always be available, always in a good mood, always providing perfect stimulation and engagement. What they need, what behavioral research has confirmed over and over again, is to be able to predict you. Because here is what most people don't realize: unpredictability in the primary owner, not harshness, not neglect, just simple inconsistency, is one of the strongest documented predictors of chronic anxiety in domestic dogs. The owner who is warm and engaged on weekends and distant during the week. Who plays enthusiastically when the mood is right and checks out when it isn't. Who sets rules that shift depending on how their day went. To a dog, that inconsistency is genuinely exhausting, not because anything bad necessarily happens, but because they can never fully relax. They are always monitoring. Always reading the room. Always trying to map which version of you walked through the door. The version of your dog you most want to see, the loose, open, present, trusting version, can only show up when their nervous system has decided it is safe to stop monitoring. And that decision only gets made when you have become predictable enough to trust. You do not need to be an extraordinary owner. You need to be a consistent one. Feed them around the same time. Walk them with the same patience you had yesterday. Respond to their signals with the same attention, regardless of how your day went. Show up the same way, in the moments that matter to them. Your dog has been waiting their whole life for the version of you that is always the version you are. Not the best version. Just the reliable 05 things. None of them require a training certificate. None of them cost a single dollar. All of them are available to you starting in your very next interaction with your dog. If something in this video made you stop, made you think differently about a moment you've had, a habit you've kept, something you've been doing without realizing, that awareness is where everything begins. Before you leave, do one thing. Drop a comment and tell us which of the 5 you are going to work on first. We read every single one. Hit like if this gave you something real, and subscribe, because the more you understand what your dog is actually saying, the better life gets for both of you. And that is always worth showing up for.